To watch these important lessons, subscribe to DP Education's YouTube channel right now. Click on the bell icon to stay updated on the latest lessons. Sri Lanka's largest free online school, DP Education.
So my dear children, in the earlier chapter we discussed about the questions related to the textbook about the evolutionary process. So within this chapter we'll be mainly focusing about the extra questions given regarding your evolutionary process, the 9th lesson. So let's head on to see the questions. Number 1. Differences of living organisms in our environment is a result of artificial methods, evolution, biodiversity, none of the above. So the question is asking the differences between organisms. We know that differences between organisms is the one which is simply referred as the biodiversity. So the question is asking what is the main reason for the biodiversity. So the main reason for the biodiversity is, my dear children, the process of evolution. We discussed that the process of evolution is the main reason for the occurrence of different types of organisms in our planet Earth. Different organisms on planet Earth evolved from one particular organism who was considered as the unicellular bacteria. From the unicellular bacteria, different types of organisms developed within the Earth. So this whole process of evolution occurred in creation of the biodiversity, right? So the creation of biodiversity mainly happened because of the evolution, my dear children, evolution, right? So evolution would be the correct answer. Actually, the biodiversity process is the one which is referred as the differences between living organisms. So this biodiversity occurred mainly because of the evolution. Next one. Origin of the Earth took place about 5 million years ago, 3.5 billion years ago, 4.5 billion years ago, 100 million years ago. So the correct answer would be origin of Earth took place. So the question is asking about the origin of Earth. Now origin of Earth means how does the Earth, the creation of Earth. It's mentioning about the creation of Earth, not the creation of life or creation of humans on the Earth. So Earth was created 4.5 billion years back. So the correct answer would be 4.5 billion years ago. So 4.5 billion years ago, origin of the Earth took place. Okay. And about 3.5 billion years ago, life started to thrive on the Earth. Okay. So 3.5 billion years, life started. About 4.5 billion years ago, Earth was created. Okay, right. Then the next one, question number 3. First scientific explanation of the origin of the solar system is. First scientific explanation of the origin of solar system. They are asking about the first scientific explanation. The modern accepted scientific explanation is the Big Bang theory. We studied that. First and foremost theory introduced to investigate or to explain about the process or the creation of Earth and the creation of universe is called the nebular theory, my dear children. The nebular theory. So here we need to find out the answer. Nebular theory. Big Bang theory is the modern accepted theory. Theory of special creation, as there was no sufficient information or sufficient evidence, this theory of special creation was neglected by the scientists. So it is also incorrect. So the correct answer would be the nebular theory. Nebular theory. That was the first and foremost scientific explanation of the origin of the solar system. Okay, origin for the solar system. Then a spontaneous generation theory. in the spontaneous generation theory, my dear children, we'll be discussing about the generation of life or the origination of life. Here the question is asking origin of the solar system. Okay, so solar system occurred, right, mainly because of the nebula, mainly because of the Big Bang theory. But however, before the Big Bang theory, the first and foremost scientific explanation was nebula theory. Okay, next one. Modern theory that describes about the origin of the earth. The question is asking origin of the earth, actually not only for the origin of the earth but also for each and every solar system, each and every galaxy and stars and all the other celestial objects created mainly because of this theory or mainly because of this incident. So this incident was referred as the Big Bang. That is the theory, or that is the best explanation which we can give when we are discussing about the creation of whole universe. So the creation of universe mainly occurred because of the Big Bang theory. So modern theory that describes about the origin of the earth is the Big Bang theory. Theory of special creation, once again we discussed in the earlier case, nebular theory and also the cosmozoic theory. Cosmozoic theory and then theory of special creation, those things are related to the origination of life on earth, my dear children, not about the origination of earth. Okay, origination of earth or the creation of earth and origination of life in earth is different to each other. Okay, the question is asking about the origin of earth, not origin of life on the earth. Okay, right then. Biochemical evolution theory was scientifically proved by scientist Stanley Miller, scientist Haldane and Oparin, then scientist Louis Pasteur, Oparin, scientist Haldane and Oparin, right? Then scientist Charles Darwin. Once again, biochemical evolution theory was scientifically proved by scientist Stanley Miller, scientist Haldane and Oparin, scientist Louis Pasteur, scientist Charles Darwin. Charles Darwin was the father of evolution, my dear children. Louis Pasteur, he was the scientist who disproved the spontaneous generation. Haldane and Oparin, right? Haldane and Oparin are the two scientists that introduced the biochemical evolution. Stanley Miller was the scientist to scientifically prove about the biochemical evolution, right? So Stanley Miller, scientist Stanley Miller was the first scientist to study and to experimentally prove the presence of biochemical substances, right? And those biochemical substances are needed for the evolution process. That is scientist Stanley Miller was the first person to introduce or to experimentally prove that theorem. Okay, it was introduced by scientist Haldane and Oparin. Okay. Next one. Animals that do not undergo evolution process are known as old animals, primitive animals, evolved animals, living fossils. Animals that do not undergo evolution process. Animals that do not undergo in evolution process are referred as living fossils. Living fossils. Like cockroach, lungfish, right? Lungfish, cockroach, then coelacanth, those kinds of organisms, and dragonfly, right? So those kinds of organisms, my dear children, even millions of years have been passed, their physical structures, right? Their physical structures and body characteristics are not that much different from the ancestors. So therefore, these organisms are referred as living fossils. So they do not undergo in evolution for long time period. Okay. Next one. Origin of life in Earth took place about origin of life. Now these questions are somewhat tricky, my dear children. Earlier it was asking about the origin of earth. Now it is asking about the origin of life in earth. See, origin of life in earth. So origin of earth occurred 4.5 billion years back. Origin of life in earth took place 1 billion years after that. Right? We discussed that thing. After 1 billion years, I mean like 4.5 billion years back, 4.5 billion years back, the origin of the earth occurred. 1 billion years after, right, 1 billion years after the origination of earth, the life has successfully existed on the planet earth. So therefore our answer for this question would be 3.5 billion years ago. Okay, always remember 4.5 billion years, that's the origination of planet earth or the creation of planet earth. 3.5 billion years ago, origin of life on planet earth occurred. Okay, 3.5 billion years back. Next one. Organism with complete fossil evidence about its evolution. Very simple, right? Organism with complete fossil evidence. So if a particular organism has complete fossil evidence, my dear children, then we can directly forward that theory related to the evolution process of that particular organism, right, without any trouble. So we studied that animal, or we studied about that evolution process of that particular animal. So that animal is the horse. Okay, so dog, human, cockroach, horse should be the answer. Horse. So for human, my dear children, for the dogs, we don't have enough fossil records. Cockroach is a living fossil. So the correct answer would be horse. Question number 9. Example for a living fossil. Horse, human, butterfly, cockroach. So this is very simple, my dear children. Cockroach is the answer. Cockroach. So a living fossil is cockroach, right? So living fossil means these organisms are not well developed, not well evolved. The ancient ancestors, the shape of the ancient ancestors are similar to the modern organisms. So that's why it is referred as the living fossil, right? Living fossil. Next one. Extinct animal. Extinct animal. Blue whale. Now blue whale is an endangered animal, not extinct but endangered. Okay, blue whale is available in sea, and that has a threat of extinction but not been extinct yet. Okay, then the next one is mammoth. Mammoths are being extinct, my dear children. Even we discussed that thing when we are discussing the lesson part, right? Mammoths have been totally eradicated from the planet Earth due to climatic changes. The main reason is the climatic change that occurred in the prehistoric era. So mammoths were extinct. Then the next one, red cockroach. Once again incorrect, right? Red cockroaches are plenty available in our houses as well. In some houses, right? Plenty available. Next one, coelacanth fish. Once again, it's a living fossil. So in the earlier times, it is assumed that after 70 million years back, coelacanth fish was eradicated or extinct. But however, in recent times, this fish was once again found from the South African region. So therefore, it is considered as a living fossil. So coelacanth is a living fossil. Still, those fishes are available. So therefore, the correct answer would be, my dear children, mammoth. Mammoth would be the correct answer, right? Mammoth would be the correct answer. Next one, the first form of life on the earth was a virus, bacteria, a protozoa, and a fungi. The first form of life on the earth was first form of life. We discussed that the first form of life was a unicellular bacteria, my dear children. It was a unicellular bacteria. Then after the development of that unicellular bacteria, the algae was created. Okay, algae was created. Okay, so our answer for the 11th question would be bacteria. The first form of life on the earth was a unicellular bacteria. Unicellular bacteria. Evolution of human took place about. It is asking about the evolution of human. So evolution of human took place about. So it is not asking about the modern human, just asking about evolution of human. So evolution of human took place about 5 million years ago, 3.5 billion years ago. This is incorrect. We know that for sure that 3.5 billion years is incorrect. Next one, 12 million years ago. 12 million years ago. Next one, 500 million years ago. 100 million years ago. So the evolution of human took place. It's not asking about the modern human, my dear children. So in our textbook, two key points were given. Evolution of human took place this much of years ago. Evolution of modern human took place this much of years ago. So the evolution of modern human occurred 5 million years ago. But however, the evolution of human took place about 12 million years ago. Modern humans came to the world or came to the planet Earth about 5 million years ago. However, humans, right? Humans have been evolving on our planet Earth since 12 million years back. Okay, so 12 million years should be the correct answer for the 12th question. Okay, right then. The first photosynthetic organism on the earth was non-flowering plant, bacteria, protozoa, algae. First photosynthetic organism. Photosynthetic organism means first ever autotrophic organism. That means the organism which can produce their own food simply by the process photosynthesis. So photosynthetic organism means, my dear children, the first and foremost organism who can do photosynthesis, right? We discussed the first and foremost bacteria created from the primordial soup was heterotrophic. So it was unable to do photosynthesis. Then gradual development of this bacteria created the first ever algae that can perform the photosynthesis. So algae is our correct answer. Algae. Algae was the first type of microorganism that can do photosynthesis. After the development of algae, right, flora was created. Then from that, non-flowering plants were created. But before that, less evolved plants were created. Then after that, non-flowering. Then after that, flowering plants. That's the process. Right. Spontaneous generation theory has been effectively disproved by. This is very simple, my dear children. In the earlier question also we discussed about this thing, right? So the spontaneous generation theory has been effectively disproved by the scientist Louis Pasteur, right? Louis Pasteur. So scientist Louis Pasteur was the first ever to disprove this spontaneous generation theory scientifically. He did several experiments regarding this spontaneous generation theory. Then by that way he disproved the theory called spontaneous generation. What does the spontaneous generation means, my dear children? Once again we'll remind. Spontaneous generation means that from non-living things, living things has occurred. For an example, all clothes created came into life, and rats were born from the all clothes. Okay, so non-living thing is the cloth, rat the living thing. So here spontaneous generation theory explains that from a non-living thing, living organisms were created. Okay, right then. In blank area, evidence for evolution of mankind was found in Sri Lanka. So you have to select the correct answer for the blank. Kandy, Anuradhapura, Kuruvita, Colombo. In Kandy and Anuradhapura, you know that we can get several information regarding the history of Sri Lanka, right? But however, the question is asking not about the history of Sri Lanka, but about the evolution process of mankind. So here they are mentioning about not ancient time period, but way more prehistoric time periods, right? So the correct answer for this one would be Kuruvita region. Even we wrote down these answers, or even we wrote down this Kuruvita area when we are discussing about those questions related to the textbook, right? When we are mentioning about the information related to the ancient places that have evidences on the evolutionary processes, right? We write down these. I think we wrote about the Kuruvita region, right? Okay. So Kuruvita would be the correct answer for the 15th question, my dear children. Right, then the next one. Blank is considered as the father of evolution. Once again, it is very simple, my dear children. We discussed about the scientist on that previous question. So the modern science state that the father of evolution is the scientist Charles Darwin, right? So it's mainly because he was the first person to introduce about the natural selection theory. So Charles Darwin was the first person to introduce this natural selection theory. So therefore, he is the one who is considered as the father of modern evolution, right? So scientist Charles Darwin is considered as the father of modern evolution. Right. The ancestor of modern horse had lived in Asia, North America, South America, Australia. So ancestor of modern horse had lived in. The ancestor of modern horse had lived in North America, South America, Australia and Asia. So you have to select the correct answer. You know that this ancestor lived in American region, but is it North America or South America? Actually, the ancestor of modern horse lived in North America 54 million years back. So the correct answer would be North America, and this ancestor lived 54 millions of years back. Okay, right. Element which is used to determine the age of the fossils: carbon, oxygen, nitrogen and uranium. So it's very simple, my dear children. The element that we use to determine the age of fossil is carbon. In here also there is a certain type of isotope of carbon which is called as carbon 614. Usual mass number of carbon is 12, but however, in smaller amounts, carbon 614 is also present within the organisms. This carbon 614 is radioactive. I mean, like, this carbon 614 is decaying from time to time. by considering the time period and by considering the mass or the size of the organism and the amount of carbon 614 that the organism had, right? Scientists can determine how much or how old is a particular fossil. Okay, the time period can be like roughly calculated by using the carbon 614 isotope. As it is radioactive, it's going to decay with the time period, my dear children. Okay, right. Modern human originated about blank years ago. Once again, a tricky question, right? 100 million years, 3.5 billion years, 4.5 billion years, 5 million years. 4.5 billion years back, Earth originated. Earth was created. 3.5 billion years back, unicellular organisms or life created on the Earth. 5 million years back, modern human evolved to the planet Earth. 12 million years back, humans started to evolve. After that, 5 million years back, modern humans started to evolve on the planet Earth. Okay, so that's the order of evolution. So modern human originated about 5 million years back. 5 million years back. Next one. The living materials might have got established on Earth from a fallen meteor with living organisms was a fact in. Living materials might have got established on Earth from a fallen meteoroid or that has living organisms. Fallen meteoroid with a living organisms. So this is regarding about cosmozoic theory, right? So cosmozoic theory was the theory that explains about the creation of life in the Earth. Especially it is mentioned in that life on Earth got started because of a celestial object which came from the outer space. Okay, so this is reflecting about the cosmozoic theory, my dear children. Cosmozoic theory explains this, that the Earth got life from a celestial object which came from the outer space. It can be a meteoroid or else a spaceship. Right, then the next question. Main energy form of creating primordial soup was. Main energy form of creating primordial soup. Electric discharges and solar radiation. Meteor hits. Sound energy due to volcano eruptions. Chemical energy in gases. Main energy form of creating primordial soup. So primordial soup was created. What is the meaning of primordial soup? Primordial soup means at the during the evolution of life or during the origination of life in our Earth had oceans. Now within these oceans, different kinds of chemical substances, minerals are dissolved, okay, in ocean water. So these chemical substances interacted each other in creation of nucleic matter and amino acids and all the other chemicals which are important in creation of life. So this particular nutritional media that helped for the development of life in our planet Earth is referred as the primordial soup. Okay, so the energy needed for the biochemical reactions or the chemical reactions that occurred within the primordial soup mainly received from solar radiation and volcanic eruption and also from what? Electrical discharges, simply from lightning. So the answer would be first response, because of the electric discharges and solar radiation. The third one is giving out the sound energy due to volcanic eruptions. Sound energy is not going to be a cause, right? Sound energy is not a cause. Volcanic eruptions is correct, but however, sound is not a good response. So the correct or the most accurate answer would be electrical discharges and solar radiation occurred at that time. Okay, right. The first living cell is also called as first cell, primordial cell, pre-cell, prehistoric cell. So the first living cell which was created within the primordial soup was referred as the pre-cell, my dear children. We discussed that the pre-cell which was created, it was a heterotrophic cell and it was anaerobic and it was a bacterial cell. Okay, the first cell or the pre-cell. Right then. Select the incorrect statement. So you have to select the incorrect statement in here. First organism on earth was unicellular. Correct. First organism on the earth was unicellular. Absolutely correct. First of all, unicellular organisms came to the earth. Then after that, multicellular organisms. Correct. Next one. First organism on earth was anaerobic. Once again correct, because there was no oxygen to absorb, or there was no oxygen gas within the atmosphere. Anaerobic means, my dear children, for the respiration process, they are not using oxygen gas. If they are not using oxygen gas for the respiration process, then, my dear children, that organism is referred as an anaerobic organism. So this is correct, no problem in it, right? There's no problem in it. The first and foremost organism created was anaerobic, because in order to absorb oxygen, there should be oxygen in the atmosphere, no? So the primitive earth haven't had any oxygen gas. So therefore, the first and foremost animal or the first and foremost unicellular organism which is created was an anaerobic organism. Next one. First organism on earth was heterotrophic. Once again correct. Right? Once again correct. So the final one should be the incorrect one. First organism on earth was autotrophic. That is incorrect. So what's the difference between autotrophic and heterotrophic, my dear children? Autotrophic organism means that can produce food by itself. So plant can be considered as an autotrophic organism because it can produce food by itself by the process of photosynthesis. Right? By the process of, or through the process of photosynthesis, plants can generate their own food. So therefore, plant is considered as a autotrophic organism. Heterotrophism means they are going to depend on other types of things. Especially, heterotrophic organisms depend on the things created or the food created by autotrophic organisms. In the earlier times, in the primitive time, my dear children, I told you that our earth, surface of our earth is covered with the primordial soup. So it had various nutrition. So it's a nutrition media actually. So the first and foremost cell created has got plenty of food to eat around here and there within the primordial soup. So the first and foremost cell which is created, the bacterial cell, was heterotrophic. Okay, it was heterotrophic. Next one. Select the correct statement. Cnidarians, annelids are first multicellular organisms. Cnidarians, annelids are first multicellular organisms. It is correct, right? Cnidarians, annelids and arthropods. Those are the first three categories of multicellular organisms. So it is correct. Those are the first three categories of multicellular organisms to thrive on the earth. So it is correct, no problem, my dear children. Cnidarians, annelids are the first multicellular organisms. Amphibians are first multicellular organisms. This is incorrect. Right? This is incorrect. Amphibians are not the ones who are the first multicellular organisms. In the earlier case, we discussed that thing. Amphibians are even vertebrates. Before the evolution of vertebrates, invertebrates evolved to the world. Okay? So, arthropods, cnidarians and annelids were evolved first before the arthropods. Right? Before the amphibians, Arthropods are not first multicellular organisms. Once again incorrect. Earlier, they were mentioning about cnidarians and annelids. No, arthropods were not there. But we know that arthropods also should be there, because arthropods, annelids and cnidarians, all of these three categories are the first types of multicellular organisms. Right? Those three categories were the first type of multicellular organisms. So, my dear children, arthropods are not first multicellular organisms. Incorrect. Next one. Reptiles are the first type of vertebrates. Reptiles are the first type of vertebrates. Once again incorrect. No. First type of vertebrates were the fish. Right? Because we discussed that during the beginning of the primitive earth, the whole earth is flooded with water. So the first and foremost vertebrate which evolved within the planet Earth should be an aquatic organism. So fish is the first and foremost vertebrate ever to evolve within the earth. After that, amphibians, my dear children. Right? After that, amphibians. Then later, reptiles. So this is also incorrect. So the correct answer would be cnidarians and annelids are the first multicellular organisms. Okay, and also arthropods. Those are the first three types of multicellular organisms. Right. Next question. First type of vertebrates which were evolved. First type of vertebrates are. Now, when I was discussing about the previous question, you could remember that I told you that in order to become an organism on the planet Earth, in the primitive Earth, okay, on the primitive planet Earth, this organism should be an aquatic organism, because the primitive Earth is flooded with water. So the first and foremost vertebrate organism which was created is a fish. Okay, it was a fish. So fish is the answer. After fish, amphibians were created. Then from amphibians, reptiles, and from reptiles, birds and mammals. That's the order. Life was originated from non-living things naturally. This was a fact of spontaneous generation, theory of a special creation, nebular theory, cosmosonic theory. Life was originated from non-living things naturally. From non-living things naturally or automatically, life has occurred or living thing has occurred. This is a key fact of spontaneous generation theory, my dear children. Right? Spontaneous. Spontaneous name in the sense it is referring to automatically or naturally, right? So in nature, the spontaneous generation states that in nature, when time is going to pass by, in nature, the non-living materials is coming up to life. Right? So it is incorrect. It is incorrect. It was an incorrect fact. So this theory was disproved by the scientist called Louis Pasteur. Right? So my dear children, the answer for the question number 26 would be spontaneous generation. Right? Spontaneous generation. It was the theory that has a fact of life was originated from non-living things. Okay? Right. In the early atmosphere of Earth, blank gas was absent. So you have to select the gas which was absent during the early atmosphere of the earth. Methane gas was there. Now during the earlier times, the toxic gases were plenty available, like methane gas, carbon dioxide gas, and hydrogen sulfide gas is also there, right? Hydrogen sulfide was also there, right? So these gases were somewhat toxic. We studied about that thing, right? Hydrogen sulfide, methane, and about the carbon dioxide. And as I especially told you that these gases are these gases are responsible for the global warming, as these gases are causing the greenhouse effect. However, my dear children, in the earlier time, there was no oxygen gas. There was no oxygen gas, because I told you time by time, in order to create oxygen gas, there should be photosynthetic organisms, because photosynthesis is the main process which can create oxygen gas. Okay, so oxygen gas is not available in the primitive earth because there is no photosynthetic organisms. Okay, right then. In the beginning, water evaporated on the planet Earth due to volcanic eruptions, meteor strikes, solar radiation, other forms of energy. In the beginning, water evaporated on the planet Earth due to. Now, water on the planet Earth evaporated mainly because the surface of the planet was having a very high temperature. So when the meteoroids are going to come and hit the surface of the planet Earth, suddenly they got evaporated into the sky or into the atmosphere. That happened mainly because of the volcanic eruptions. Mainly because of the volcanic eruptions that was happened within the primitive planet Earth, my dear children. Right? By solar radiation, we know that the water is going to evaporate. But however, in order to evaporate through solar radiation, water should remain within the surface of the earth, no? But however, in the primitive earth, my dear children, water was not available on the surface. It's because of the high amount of volcanic eruptions. The temperature of the surface was very high. So due to having very high surface temperature, what will happen when water is going to hit on the surface? Suddenly it will evaporate and travel to the atmosphere. Okay, so the main reason behind the evaporation of water from the surface of the planet is because of the volcanic eruptions. So volcanic eruptions would be the answer for question number 28. Next one. Not a significant fact of primitive Earth. Not a significant fact of the primitive Earth. Having carbon dioxide but not having oxygen. So question is asking not a significant fact of primitive Earth. Not a fact. Having carbon dioxide but not having oxygen. So it is a primitive, it is a fact of primitive Earth. So this is correct. Right? This is correct. Early Earth or primitive Earth had carbon dioxide, but it doesn't, or it haven't had oxygen gas. So it is correct. Having unicellular bacteria. Next one, having high volcanic activities. Next one, having silicon rocks on Earth's crust. It's seems that all of these things are correct, right? By looking at the sentences, you might think that all of these sentences are correct because unicellular bacteria was there. Correct. In the primitive earth, I mean like the earth originated life, right? The life on the earth has got originated from the bacterial cells, no? So it is correct. It's a primitive fact in it is a fact in the primitive earth. So it is correct, no problem in it. Next one, having high volcanic activities, that is also correct, right? Inside the primitive earth, we could observe that, and we studied that there was high amount of volcanic activities. Correct. Having silicon rocks on the earth crust, that is also correct, right? We discussed that earth crust was created with silicon rocks. That is also correct. But my dear children, the thing is that you have to select the most accurate answer. Significant fact of primitive earth. When we are looking at the figures related to the primitive earth, I think you could remember primitive earth had volcanic eruptions. Primitive earth had carbon dioxide, atmosphere with carbon dioxide, but the atmosphere of the primitive earth haven't had oxygen gas. Correct. The primitive earth, crust of the earth was created from silicon rocks. Once again, correct. However, my dear children, in the primitive earth, there was no form of life, because we discussed that life on earth originated 3.5 billion years back. 4.5 billion years back, earth originated. So there is a 1 billion years gap. During that time, life was not there. Okay, so my dear children, all of these things are incorrect for the primitive facts. But however, having unicellular bacteria, that was not a feature in primitive earth. Okay, next one. Theory which is neglected by scientists due to lack of evidence. Theory which is neglected by scientists due to lack of evidence. Neglected. So, theory which is neglected by scientists due to lack of evidence. Number 1, cosmological theory. Number 2, theory of a special creation. Number 3, nebular theory. Number 4, above all. Once again confusing, right? We know that cosmological theory, incorrect. Because cosmological theory reflects that the life on earth originated mainly from something came from the outer space, mainly from a thing which came from the outer space. Okay, so it's been neglected. Next one, theory of special creation, totally been neglected. It is saying that a special force, a supernatural force created the planet Earth with life. Number 3, nebular theory. Once again, it's the first and foremost scientific explanation, but however, it's also been neglected. So which one is the correct answer? You are given with the option above all also, but remember, you have to select the most accurate answer. Nebular theory, correct up to a certain extent. I told you that due to gravitational force, all the dust particles join together in creation of celestial objects. But however, nebular theory does not explain how does the dust particle came into the universe first place. Okay, this is not being neglected. Nebular theory was not neglected by the scientists, but they have modified it. Modification and neglection are two different things, right? Modification and neglection are two different things. scientists have modified the nebula theory and they gave the idea of Big Bang theory, right? So nebula theory was not neglected, it was modified. Next one, cosmiozoic theory. The other problem, cosmiozoic theory is not being neglected. It's because that we don't have enough proof to neglect it. We don't have enough proof, evidence to neglect it. Okay. So the neglection, actually, there are some certain types of evidences to prove that cosmiozoic theory is true. Okay. Cosmiozoic theory is, there are some certain evidences. You can find out these evidences by using the internet, my dear children. There are some certain evidences that can strongly prove that cosmiozoic theory or life on Earth originated from the things which fallen from the outer space. There are some strong evidences you can find out through the internet. Go and find out these. That's why I told you that this lesson is pretty much interesting. So cosmiozoic theory was not neglected, my dear children. Still the scientists are finding several evidences to prove the cosmiozoic theory. But however, the theory of special creation being totally neglected. Neglection and modification are two different things. Neglection means they are not paying attention to it at all. That's what you mean by the neglection, right? The cosmiozoic theory and nebula theory. Nebula theory I told you, right? So the cosmiozoic theory. So in the cosmiozoic theory, my dear children, still the scientists are paying somewhat attention to this cosmiozoic theory to find out several evidences. But however, the theory of a special creation being totally neglected by the scientist, right? Because there is no evidence to prove it. So the answer for the theory which is neglected by the scientists due to lack of evidence would be the theory of special creation. Next one. First vertebrate on land were. First vertebrate on land. Okay, first vertebrate on land. So the first and foremost vertebrate to invade the land was amphibians, my dear children. First vertebrate evolved on the planet Earth was fish. Then after that they evolved into amphibians, and the amphibians are the ones who came to the land in the first place. So amphibians would be the answer. So these are the first vertebrates on land, right? So if you check this thing as amphibians, right, then my dear children, you are selecting the incorrect answer. You are selecting the incorrect answer. Then what is the correct one? We know that amphibians came to the land first. Read the question once again. First vertebrates on land. On land. Important this thing. First and foremost vertebrates on land. Right? That was not the amphibians. On land, the first and foremost organisms which was created from the amphibians, my dear children, the reptiles. Reptiles. So reptiles were the first and foremost terrestrial organisms. So on land means terrestrial. Instead of terrestrial, on land is given. Okay, instead of terrestrial, on land is given. So, like I said, these MCQ questions are pretty much tricky. Okay, read the questions very carefully and go for the answers. So the first and foremost vertebrates on land were reptiles, not amphibians. Okay, next one. It is believed that birds and mammals evolved from. It is believed that birds and mammals evolved from, once again my dear children, reptiles, right? Reptiles. Okay, reptiles were the first and foremost organisms who lived on the land. Then these reptiles were evolved into birds and mammals. Next question. Gradual development from simple organism to modern complex organism. Gradual development from simple organism to modern complex organism is development, reproduction, evolution, diversity. Very easy, my dear children. The development of simple organism to a modern complex organism can be called as the evolution. The gradual development of simple organism to modern complex organism is the evolution, right? Evolution. Next one. Blank provide evidences for evolution. Paleontology. Paleontology means study about the different types of fossils. Paleontology. Geographical animal distribution. Comparative anatomy. So, next one given above all. Evidences for the evolution process can be obtained mainly from three different facts. Those three facts were fossil study, fossils and ancient rocks and other things study, which is referred as the paleontology. Geographical animal distribution, biogeography. Comparative anatomy of the animals, studying about the structures of different animals and comparing the structures of these organisms to find out a common ancestor. Correct. So all of these three will provide information and evidence to prove the evolutionary process. So my dear children, all of these things are correct. So about all of these things provide evidences for evolution. Next one. In blank, physical properties unchanged, though million years have passed. In butterfly, monkey, horse, dragonfly. So physical properties unchanged though million years have passed. Even though millions of years have passed, if the physical properties are not getting changed, definitely that organism should be a living fossil. So you have to select the living fossil out of the organisms given here. So my dear children, butterfly, monkey, horse and dragonfly, out of these organisms, dragonfly would be the living fossil. That is why their physical properties is not going to change even though million years passed. Okay, even though million years passed, their physical properties are not getting changed because that particular organism is considered as a living fossil. Evolution is not going to happen. Okay, in order to change the physical properties, evolution should happen. So these organisms are not evolving. That is why these organisms do not have any special changes within their physical characteristics. Okay. Next one. An example for a fossil. Footprints of animals. Correct. Footprints of animals can be taken as a fossil. Preserved animals in tree resins. Correct. Once again correct. Preserved bodies of extinct animals. Once again correct. So footprints of animals, preserved animals in tree resins, preserved bodies of extinct animals, all of these things can be considered as what? As a fossil, right? All of these things are considered as fossils, my dear children. Next question. Ancestor of modern horse had lived blank years before. This is very easy, my dear children. When we are discussing about the fact related to the ancient horse, we discussed that ancient ancestor of the horse lived in North America 54 million years back. So the correct answer for this question would be 54 million years back. 5 million years back, modern human, right? Then 12 million years back, the human, evolution of human. Okay, 54 million years back, the modern horse had, the ancestor of the modern horse had lived, right? So the correct answer would be C, 54 million years back. Next one. Accepted theory for the origin of life on Earth. Accepted theory for the origin of life on Earth. So, the modern scientists accept that the theory of biochemical evolution, is the main reason for the origin of life in Earth. It is stating that the gases that had within the primitive Earth, right, reacted each other in creating ingredients or materials which are important to create the life forms like amino acids, proteins and other types of chemical substances. So the biochemical evolution state that because of the contents within the planet Earth, right, Earth had life. Okay, so this is what do you mean by the biochemical evolution. So that is the theory which is being accepted by the modern scientists. Okay, right there. Select the incorrect response. So you have to select the incorrect response. Theory of biochemical evolution was proved experimentally. Correct. It was proved by scientist Stanley Miller, right? And theory of biochemical evolution was proved experimentally. Absolutely correct, no problem. Next one. Amphibians originated from fish during evolution. Once again correct. First and foremost vertebrate type is the fish and the next type is amphibians. Okay, next type is the amphibian. Reptiles evolved from birds during evolution. This is incorrect. This is incorrect. So this should be our answer. During the evolution, my dear children, okay, reptiles came first, later the birds. The statement refers that reptiles evolved from birds. Okay, reptiles evolved from birds. That means birds were the ones who came first according to the given sentence. But it is incorrect. Okay. Birds evolved from reptiles. That should be the correct one. So this is incorrect. We'll go for the fourth one as well. Non-flowering plants were created before flowering plants. That is also correct. Non-flowering plants created before the flowering plants. That is also correct. Okay. First of all, flora was created, then non-flowering plants, or before that, less evolutionary plants. Then after that, non-flowering plants. Then finally, flowering plants. Then the final question. Select the correct response. Dinosaurs were extinct due to an asteroid hit. Absolutely correct. Dinosaurs were extinct mainly because due to an asteroid hit. Okay, it is correct. Next one. Mammoths were extinct due to change in climate. Once again correct, my dear children. When I was discussing about the lesson, I told you that the main reason for the extinction of mammoths is the climatic changes. Climate changed dramatically. So because of that, mammoths were not able to live. So therefore, they died and they extinct. So it is correct. Number 3. Dodo bird was extinct due to excessive hunting. Once again correct, my dear children. When we are discussing about the question which is given in your textbook to write down the extinct organisms, I told you that dodo bird was extinct because of the action of human beings, mainly because of the excessive hunting, right? So this is correct, no problem. So my dear children, all of these statements are correct. So you have to select the correct one. All of these things are correct in the 40th question. Right then. So with that one, we have discussed 40 MCQ questions related to your 9th lesson, my dear children. So I hope to meet you to discuss several other types of questions, but my dear children, within our next chapter. So within our next chapter, we'll discuss several essay type questions related to the lesson of evolutionary process.
To watch these important lessons, subscribe to DP Education's YouTube channel right now. Click on the bell icon to stay updated on the latest lessons. Sri Lanka's largest free online school, DP Education.